The teasers dropped, the fandom went completely dead silent, and then, like, in an instant, the entire K-pop world was turned upside down.
Oh, it was absolute chaos.
Literally, the headline everywhere was just, they got caught stealing from BTS, and supposedly there is unforgivable footage out there. Welcome to Starscope K Report. Join Eric and Minji as they ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates. From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
And today's deep dive is seriously massive. Like, we are unpacking a giant stack of sources today.
Yeah, we've got articles from Koreabu, Kbazoom, Ambadar, plus transcripts from some really intense YouTube video essays.
Right, because we need to figure out exactly what happens when, corporate efficiency just completely collides with K-pop's most fiercely protective fandom.
Exactly. So today we are looking at this massive plagiarism controversy rocking HYBE labels, and we'll dig into the profound significance of BTS's incredible comeback album, ARIRANG.
And we also have to examine the hidden mechanics of a media ecosystem that literally exploits your hardcore fandom loyalty for profit. It's a lot.
It is a lot. So let's just get right into the catalyst for this entire firestorm. Picture the scene, right? It is July 30, 2026.
A date that will live in infamy on Twitter.
Seriously. So HYB's multinational girl group, KATSEYE, is gearing up for the release of their upcoming EP, Wild. And they finally dropped their official tracklist graphic.
Which is usually a huge deal.
Right. Usually a tracklist drop is this moment of pure celebration. Like, you are zooming in on the image, theorizing about the titles of the B-sides, and just soaking in the visual aesthetics of the new era.
Yeah, it sets the tone for everything.
Totally. But instead of hype, this drop triggered, like, massive whiplash across the timeline.
Because the visual identity of that graphic was immediately recognizable to, honestly, anyone casually following the industry this year.
Oh, the overlap was impossible to ignore. The KATSEYE design featured this very distinct, heavy black sans-serif font, and it was layered directly over overlapping strips of red tape.
Right, all placed against this plain, textured, almost grungy background.
Yes, and it was a literal carbon copy of the tracklist graphic that BTS released back in March for their album ARIRANG. Like, side by side, the templates are nearly identical.
Which is just wild to see from the same parent company.
And the BTS fandom, arming why they caught it in seconds. I mean, one viral quote that just perfectly captured the mood on the timeline was, "What the F is that dumbass company doing, bro?"
I mean, you really can't blame them for being mad.
No, you can't. And add to this the fact that KATSEYE was already dealing with intense scrutiny. They had recently faced accusations of copying the visual styles of BLACKPINK and aespa with their earlier gnarly teaser.
Yeah, and that earlier gnarly controversy is a really crucial piece of context here. It primed the audience to be, highly skeptical from the jump.
Oh, for sure.
Because in this industry, a rookie group's visual identity isn't just window dressing. It is their core introduction to the market. It signals their entire concept. So when a group's creative team is repeatedly accused of lifting aesthetics from established artists, it signals a deeper structural issue within the agency itself.
It really does. I mean, looking at the corporate side of things, it feels less like an artist taking organic inspiration and more like catching a younger sibling wearing their older brother's custom designer jacket and pretending they bought it.
That is a perfect way to put it. They treated it like an open source Canva template. Just swap out the text and hit export.
Exactly. But I do genuinely wonder, like, where we draw the line here, because the entire music industry is built on visual trends, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So if the dominant trend right now is Y2K aesthetics or cyberpunk or whatever, how do we differentiate between a massive label just maintaining a cohesive, cost-effective house style across its artists and outright stealing?
Well, that distinction is incredibly blurry, and it's actually the root of a much larger crisis in K-pop intellectual property right now.
Right.
To understand the mechanism at play here, we have to look at how these massive conglomerates operate. HYBE isn't just one agency anymore, right? It is a huge multi-label system. They manage dozens of subsidiaries.
Yeah, and we saw the seams of this system completely burst back in April 2024.
Exactly. When Andor CEO Min Hee-jin accused another HYBE subsidiary, Belift Lab, of heavily copying her group NewJeans to create the rookie group ILLIT.
That controversy was a massive industry earthquake. She pointed to the hair, the makeup, the choreo, like everything.
And that really exposed a critical vulnerability in the whole corporate model. Because legally speaking, a vibe is virtually impossible to copyright.
Right, you can't patent a haircut.
No, you can't easily patent a makeup style or a general creative direction. And from the perspective of a corporate board, they are investing millions of dollars into launching a new group.
So they want a sure thing.
Precisely. To mitigate that massive financial risk, executives often push creative teams to rely on proven, data-backed formulas. If a specific aesthetic generated $1 billion in revenue last quarter, the corporate impulse is to just replicate it.
So it's just ruthless corporate efficiency, like minimize risk, maximize output. But I feel like they're completely miscalculating the human element here.
Oh, 100%.
The K-pop industry doesn't function like a factory selling, household appliances. It thrives entirely on authenticity and that parasocial emotional bond between the artist and the consumer.
Right, the fans.
Yeah, the fans. When a label treats a meaningful concept as a recyclable asset just to cut costs on a new debut, it completely shatters the illusion of artistic integrity.
That is the breaking point right there. If you are a fan who has invested years of emotional energy into an artist, seeing their work reduced to an in-house template is insulting.
Totally insulting.
And this brings us to why this specific graphic for KATSEYE caused such a ferocious uproar. The fans weren't just defending a font choice or like some red tape. They were defending what BTS's ARIRANG represents.
And that's not even the wildest part of this comeback, by the way. Later in the episode, we'll talk about the shocking plot twist in this media drama that nobody saw coming. But first, let's talk about ARIRANG.
Yes, let's get into it.
Because it makes total sense why fans treat this album like sacred ground. We have to look at the sheer scale of what ARIRANG achieved. Released on March 20, 2026, this was BTS's first studio album in almost 6 years, following their mandatory military hiatus.
6 years is an eternity in K-pop.
It really is. The anticipation was unparalleled. In South Korea alone, they sold 4.2 million copies in the first week.
Wow.
Over in the U.S., they moved 641,000 units to secure their 7th #1 on the Billboard 200. I mean, it achieved a global all-kill, topping literally every major domestic and international music chart simultaneously.
The commercial metrics are just historic. But honestly, the critical reception is what really defined this era for them.
Yeah, the music press noted a massive shift in their presentation.
They did. Rolling Stone India published this fantastic analysis, and they described the core concept of ARIRANG as desymmetrization.
Desymmetrization. I love that word. And I noticed the sound and feel of this album are completely different from their older work.
Completely different.
For so long, BTS embodied the ultimate polished standard of the industry. Perfect choreography, flawless styling, the literal bulletproof image. But ARIRANG feels so raw.
It does.
How did they actually dismantle that glossy image and, weave that vulnerability into the tracks?
Well, it comes down to these microscopic, incredibly deliberate artistic choices. They stopped trying to present themselves as perfect idols and fully leaned into being scarred, evolving humans.
Right.
You can hear it explicitly in the lyrics to the track Normal. They tackle the psychological toll of global fame head-on. They sing kerosene, dopamine, chemical-induced fantasy and fame. Yeah, the things we choose. Show me hate, show me love, make me bulletproof. Yeah, we call this shit normal.
Oh, man, that is so introspective, especially coming off a military hiatus where you are suddenly stripped of your global superstar status and forced back into a highly regimented, ordinary reality.
Exactly. It's jarring.
And sonically, I know they embedded a lot of cultural history into the production. Even the Maknae was heavily involved in shaping the sound this time around.
Oh, yeah. They wove their national identity directly into the sonic architecture of the album. Take the opening track, Body to Body.
Okay.
It features this heavy, noisy hip-hop beat, produced by Diplo.
Yeah.
But placed right in the center of that chaotic modern production is a sample of the traditional Korean folk ballad, Yeongjang.
That is such a cool juxtaposition.
It really is. Then you have track 3, Aliens, which is heavily inspired by 80s hip-hop. And that track features a pointed tribute to the Korean independence leader Kim Gu.
Wow, okay.
Yes, specifically honoring his philosophy that a nation's true strength lies in its culture, not its military might.
And just to be clear to our listeners, we aren't taking any political sides here, just reporting on the incredible historical references in the source material. But that carries immense weight, coming from artists who serve as South Korea's most powerful cultural exports, and who literally just finished serving in the military.
The level of detail is staggering, right?
Wow.
But it gets even more precise.
Tell me.
Consider track 6, which is titled Nunny 29. If you look at the runtime, the track is exactly 1 minute and 38 seconds long.
Wait, really? Why that specific time?
Because the track is built around a field recording of the bell of King Songdeok, which is designated as South Korea's 29th national treasure.
Oh my gosh.
And when that massive bronze bell is struck, it vibrates and resonates for exactly 1 minute and 38 seconds.
That is absolutely brilliant. I mean, it perfectly synthesizes the frustration of the fans, too.
Exactly.
When your bias pours that much personal history, cultural reverence, and literal blood, sweat, and tears into a project, it transforms from a standard pop album into a cultural artifact.
Yes, it is no longer just a product.
So when the creative team for KATSEYE decided to drag and drop the visual packaging of that specific monumental album to promote a completely unrelated rookie EP, it feels incredibly disrespectful.
It does.
To the fandom, they took a bespoke diary entry and turned it into corporate wrapping paper.
And that protective instinct from the fans is so powerful. But, that fierce protectiveness is also a double-edged sword.
How so?
Well, when a fandom is that primed to defend an artist's legacy from their own corporate label, it creates a massive vulnerability. It cultivates an environment of hypervigilance. And that is a vulnerability that the digital media ecosystem knows exactly how to exploit for profit.
Oh, wow. Yeah, if you've ever found yourself defending your favorite artist in the trenches of social media, you know exactly how exhausting this ecosystem is.
It is draining.
If you love staying updated on your favorites and decoding all this industry drama, make sure you're subscribed to Starscope K Report. We've got even bigger scoops ahead, so hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update.
Yes, definitely subscribe.
Because this leads us to the other massive story surrounding the ARIRANG comeback, which perfectly exposes how this media exploitation works.
Right, the concert backlash.
Exactly. The day after the album dropped, March 21, 2026, BTS held their massive comeback live concert at Gwangwon Square in the heart of Seoul. Hundreds of thousands of fans flooded the streets, and 18.4 million people streamed it live on Netflix. It was a historic triumph.
A massive global event.
Yet, right as the concert was peaking, multiple Korean news outlets simultaneously started pushing incredibly hostile headlines. We saw titles like "Wedding Overshadowed by BTS" and "A Celebration for Some, a Disaster for Others."
The contrast between the cultural significance of the event and the sudden influx of hyper-localized negative press was so jarring.
It really was. The articles focused heavily on complaints from local citizens whose weddings and doljanchi, which are traditional Korean first birthday celebrations, were supposedly ruined.
Ruined by severe traffic gridlock and venue cancellation penalties caused by the concert.
Naturally, international fans saw these translated headlines and just went to war. They immediately assumed this was a coordinated hit job orchestrated by the media to ruin BTS's triumphant return.
Oh, the timeline was a mess.
It was flooded with fans accusing these brides of being greedy opportunists trying to extort HYBE for compensation.
The reaction cycle was instantaneous and completely vicious. But if we actually trace those identical dramatic articles back to their actual source, the reality of the situation is entirely different.
So how does a story like this actually blow up? Because the original source wasn't some massive organized protest or a legal demand for compensation.
Not at all. The entire news cycle originated from a single, honestly rather mundane post on a localized Never wedding forum.
Wait, really? Just one post?
Just one. A bride, who was scheduled to get married a few hours before the concert, posted a calm, logistical question. She essentially asked the community, given the concert crowds, how bad will the traffic be? Should I advise my guests to take the subway?
That is so innocent.
Right. And the responses were equally practical, advising her not to stress and offering subway routes. There was no outrage, no anger directed at BTS, and certainly no demands for corporate payouts.
Okay, I understand how innocent the original post was. But realistically, aren't massive events that shut down city infrastructure inherently newsworthy? I mean, if hundreds of thousands of people are causing traffic that impacts major life events for local citizens, isn't a journalist just doing their job by reporting on it?
Well, it is absolutely valid to report on city logistics and traffic disruptions. But we really have to examine the specific mechanism of how this was reported. This wasn't a civic traffic update. It was a textbook pipeline of manufactured rage bait. Netizens quickly pointed out a glaring double standard here. Gwangwon Square is the political epicenter of Seoul, right?
Right.
It frequently hosts massive, highly disruptive political protests and labor rallies that gridlock the entire city for days. And again, we aren't taking any stance on the politics themselves, just noting what the netizens brought up about the media coverage.
And let me guess, the media isn't running tear-jerking features about brides having their special days ruined by political rallies.
Rarely, if ever. The media algorithm ignores the brides when politics shut down the square. But when the disruption is caused by BTS, the media actively scrapes harmless community forums to find a human interest angle they can weaponize.
Why? Just for clicks.
Exactly, because the digital media model in K-pop is built entirely on monetizing intense emotion. They know that artificially inflating a local traffic question into a narrative of societal conflict and slapping BTS in the headline acts as an algorithmic lightning rod.
It guarantees engagement from every possible angle. Like the international fans will angrily click the article to defend the group from what they perceive as a smear campaign.
Yeah.
And then the domestic detractors and rival fandoms will click the article to criticize the group's massive footprint.
Precisely. The journalists and the platforms don't care about the bride, the traffic, or the artist. They care about the massive surge in page views, shares, and ad revenue generated by two sides warring in the comment section.
They are mining the fandom's protective instincts to generate cheap clicks.
That is exactly what they are doing.
That is so wild. You think you are fighting to protect an artist's reputation, but in reality, you are just feeding data and revenue into a machine designed to make you angry.
Yep.
We are looking at a landscape where the fans are constantly fighting a war on two fronts. On one side, they are fighting the corporate labels, like with the KATSEYE tracklist, to protect the artistic integrity of the group. And on the other side, they're fighting the media ecosystem to protect the group's public image. It is an exhausting loop.
It requires an immense amount of stamina from the fans. But for the corporations and the media platforms, it is an incredibly lucrative business model. The devotion of a fandom is treated as an endlessly renewable resource.
Wow. Let's pull back and summarize the wild terrain we've covered today because it has been quite a ride.
It really has.
We started by looking at how a single, seemingly simple tracklist graphic for KATSEYE exposed the deep tension between a label's desire for corporate efficiency and the fans' demand for artistic integrity.
Right.
We analyzed the absolute cultural masterpiece that is BTS's ARIRANG, uncovering how they wove deep vulnerability in national history, right down to the vibration of a 9th century bronze bell into their music.
Which is still just blowing my mind.
I know, me too. And finally, we dissected how the digital media ecosystem expertly scrapes mundane forums to manufacture outrage, weaponizing fandom passion for profit.
It really highlights the central paradox of modern K-pop. The artists themselves are evolving, right? They're creating increasingly profound, boundary-pushing work that reflects their humanity. Yet, the machinery surrounding them, the corporate boards pushing visual templates, and the media platforms engineering rage bait remain stuck in a cycle of algorithmic exploitation.
It is a lot to process, which is exactly why we take the time to do these deep dives. If you love staying updated on the industry and you want to look beneath the surface of the viral headlines to understand the actual mechanics of how this entertainment world operates, make sure you're subscribed to this deep dive feed.
Seriously, hit subscribe.
We've always got more complex, incredible stories to unpack together, and subscribing ensures you never miss an analysis.
And as we wrap up this discussion, I want to leave you with a lingering thought to explore on your own.
Let's hear it.
We've established that the entire K-pop industry thrives on the fierce, almost unconditional loyalty of its fans. But what happens when those same fans collectively realize they are the actual product? You are being mined twice. First, by agencies aggressively recycling creative concepts to save overhead, assuming you'll buy it anyway. And second, by a digital media ecosystem that literally converts your outrage and your love into ad currency. How long can a multi-billion-dollar industry sustain itself by continuously burning its most valuable resource?
That is the essential question moving forward. The teasers drop, the internet erupts, but perhaps it's time we all start looking a lot closer at who is really profiting from the chaos. You've been listening to Starscope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.